Okay. Hello again. Uh, so, two things. Well, yeah. I think I still have anger issues from childhood bullshit. I don't think I I stopped having the violent thoughts. I think I kind of just suppressed them and just forced myself or caused myself not to think them anymore. You know? But every now and then they come back. And I think all it is just a projection in a way. It's me wanting to hurt myself, but I know I can't literally do it. Well, I can, but I can't. It doesn't make sense, and I can't explain it. I have weird. I mean, all my fantasies are kind of weird, but I have a few that are really weird. Like, I thought of it earlier today, actually, but I kind of moved away from wanting to kill myself in the literal sense, as in ending this current me's existence, and shifting more towards still killing myself, but essentially killing a mask that's me, like a corpse that's me, like my corpse, but just beating and stabbing it, you know? Current me thinks it would be cathartic, but we won't know until we do it, you know? There's someone I knew I talked to last year. She said she still had anger issues. And I think since that moment, and just going through everything I went through this year, all the different emotions, and funnily enough, learning more about ADHD and autism, and understanding that I'm weird, but also not weird, but especially not weird in the ways that people would think I'm weird. I'm just me, but because I'm me, and I can express how and why I'm me, all that's left is for other people to make judgments as to how and why I am me. I don't even raise my voice much anymore. It kind of scares me a little bit. Then again, I've never really raised my voice. But I think recently, now that I've noticed it more, I think that's why it scares me. I've always had a fear of blowing up. Of just going ballistic on someone. I think back on the time when I was sleeping in my car and this guy wakes me up out of my sleep as he's basically cutting into the bottom of my car with the fucking mini chainsaw thing, saw blade or whatever the fuck it is. And throughout the years since my childhood, I've retained the anger and I've retained it. It's just inside, and I don't let it out. And in place of it, it's fear and paranoia. I think just sadness, deep sadness. On the upside, but kind of downside, I cry more. I've always been a crier, but sometimes I get annoyed with myself. But since hearing that from her, dealing with the people I've dealt with since then, trying to get over certain people, even though I know I never really will. I've never gotten over anyone, actually. You kind of just keep moving forward as the memory of them stays, but it just gets foggier and foggier as the noise of everything else consumes it. But since then, every now and then I hear her voice in my head again, expressing that she still has anger issues. And it makes me just see her as a younger version of me. And there's also the constant curiosity on my end. Why are people the way they are? And what made them that way? Specifically, what exactly happened? But that comes at a cost of making them uncomfortable. Because a lot of people don't like talking about what happened. Very understandable. But I have to remember that just because I talk about what happened doesn't mean other people do. You know? Makes me glad I don't have a gun. Or a knife or a car. Well, a working car. And then again, I say that, but I know I'd never go full game over. That defeats the entire purpose of everything I've gone through. If you end it now, then that just leaves some other version of you to do what you chose not to. and you have no idea where you're going to end up next. You have no idea what body you're going to be in, when, and you won't remember this. But yeah. And the second thing, I think to a degree, I've always, well, not to a degree, scratch that. I've always had this desire to know how the other half lives, what they feel, what the intensity is like. I want to understand it. But I also want to experience it. Luckily, modern day, we're getting closer and closer and closer to developing the technology to allow us to be able to experience it, experience the other half, and then ultimately meaning you can experience both, or neither in a way, and just be a pure being again. But only this time here, in the physical, rather than ethereal. I don't know what they'd call it, but that just makes sense. It's interesting. This is all interesting. Laying with your head on a pillow and a phone next to your face, talking to it as if you're talking to someone, which you are. I am. You're listening, whoever the fuck you are. You know? Whoever you are, you're listening. Whether if it's the day this was made, a year from now, which would be September the 2nd, 2026. Maybe it's 2 years. You know, when I'm 28, or maybe it's 100 years from now when I'm 128. At least birth-wise, because technically, mentally, you could experience multiple lives in the span of months with time dilation and simulation. Imagine making a virtual world so detailed, so realistic in terms of physics, that it's practically one-to-one to our reality. But you have time dilation. Where there, you feel as though you're living your actual life. You're living a life. And all you do is you're still the same person at your core, but you just cut off access to the memories of you from outside the simulation. You just exist there. You live your entire life there, and then you die, and then you wake up. But because it's a simulation, it would essentially just be when you die, you can essentially experience the entire universe of that simulation. Meaning, instead of you waking up from a dream and mourning the loss of the family that never existed in your time, you can go back in and grab your family. Grab those who you missed a future with. Give them the same opportunity you had. So on and so forth. Simulations all the way down. In an infinite universe, there's infinite possibilities. Meaning, for all we know, this is just... There is only one universe. But there's just simulations so fucking deep. I don't think we can imagine how lonely a god is. How lonely they'd be. To be everything and yet nothing. It's probably so lonely.